Hi everybody, welcome to Simply Scuba and welcome to the Dive Brief. Today's video I'm going to be breaking down the different features of a snorkel. Now I know my scuba divers won't be into snorkels, but if you're new to snorkeling or if you're new to scuba diving and you don't know the actual features on a snorkel, hopefully this video will help you out. Starting off at the top of a snorkel, you have three basic top styles. The first one is just an open top. There's nothing overly fancy to this. They're usually cut at a slight angle just so that when it's sticking up out of the water, you get as much of a wave deflector as possible. From one direction, water's just going to find its way in, but from the other, it might splash away from the opening to try and prevent water from getting in. But these are really designed for snorkelers and scuba divers who don't mind water in and around their mouth. If you're not too keen on it, then you can get a deflector style. The deflector is a bit more comprehensive. You have this second external shield. You still have that same angled shape to it, so the actual opening is protected from that direction, but now it's also protected from this direction. If you bob under the water though, it will start to fill up. It is just an open airway, but the deflector helps to deflect the waves away. And the most comprehensive, if you really don't like any water in and around your mouth, is a dry top snorkel like this one. So this one actually has a deflector all around it, like the other one, except this one has a small float on the inside, which if you do go under the water, the float naturally wants to float up towards the surface, and as it does float up, it actually blocks the top of the snorkel. So that helps to prevent water from getting in if you ever duck your head under the water. And then when you bob back up, the float drops back down because of gravity and it opens up the airway so you can continue to breathe and you don't have water in the snorkel. Next we move on to the main body of the snorkel, which in a lot of cases is just circular in cross section. There's nothing overly wrong with cross sections or a circular cross section, but you do find some oval shapes. So they're compressed on one side so that the actual body of the snorkel sits a bit closer to the side of your face, and that helps to reduce drag by making it a bit more hydrodynamic. When it's a bit more proud, when it's round, it just drags in the water a little bit. So if you're swimming against the current or if you're swimming quite fast in the water, it can start to shudder a little bit. So that oval shape does help to reduce that drag. When you're attaching the snorkel onto your mask, some divers go the really low-key way and just attach it to underneath the strap. They just tuck it underneath the mask strap. But you can get these little attachment points. These are, in the industry, we often call these figure of eights just because it's two very basic loops and then a section at the bottom. You thread your mask strap through that and that attaches it onto the mask. These are relatively permanent because as much as you can slide them off and replace them, once it's on, it's very much on. You either have to unthread the entire strap through the buckle on the mask to redo it or take it on and put it off, or you have to pull the whole thing off and put it back on. So they're a bit of a hassle. Then we get onto a slightly more advanced version, which has a hook. Now, they often have a hook at section down at the bottom to help stop it from just sliding up and off, but these just allow you to hook it onto your mask strap and then leave it on. Some of them nowadays, they are articulated, so that helps with the angle of the snorkel to put it in the right position when it's on your on the side of your head and it's in the right position. And a lot of them slide up and down the body of the snorkel nowadays, so if you need the snorkel a little bit higher up or a little bit lower down, you can adjust where the buckle actually sits. And in the most advanced snorkel buckles nowadays, if you push on a button or pinch something, there's a little mechanism that allows you to take this part of the snorkel clip off. That stays attached onto your mask, so you can store your mask nice and safely in the box, separate from the snorkel, because the snorkel is not going to fit in the mask box. But then when you want to go snorkeling again, you just clip it on and you're ready to go. Moving down to the lower bend of the snorkel, this is a very simple J-style snorkel. It's shaped a bit like a J, and this is a fixed, we call it a fixed bend, in that this is the shape. Whilst it does have some flexibility, it's really, that's about it. So it sits in your mouth, and that's about all the flexibility that you have. More advanced snorkels have these corrugated tube sections at the bottom. This is made out of soft silicone and it's corrugated, so it allows that to bend and flex. These are good because it allows the mouthpiece to sit exactly where it needs to, in front of your face, into your mouth, but also for scuba divers in that when we're not using our snorkel, we're using our regulator, so you want this to be as far away from your mouth as possible so it's not getting in the way of your second stage. So that corrugated tube just allows the mouthpiece just to move away to give space for your regulator. And finally, down at the bottom of a snorkel, most snorkels nowadays have what we call a water trap. So just below the mouthpiece, you have this enlarged section which just drops the bottom of the airway. This is a water trap, so that should any water find its way into the snorkel, it's naturally going to trickle down to its lowest point, but you can still breathe past it because there's an airway above it. Whenever you exhale, most of them also have a one-way purge valve, just a small mushroom valve at the bottom, so that every time that you exhale, any water that has collected down in the bottom gets pushed straight out. That clears the water out of the snorkel. If you go for a more basic J-style snorkel, any water that's trapped in the bottom, if you want to get rid of that, you have to blow it all the way up out of the snorkel. So this is a bit more for advanced snorkelers, people who are, again, sort of better with their airway control. But again, if you don't like water in and around your mouth and you don't really want to sort of breathe cautiously and everything to try and breathe past it, then a water trap and a purge valve down at the bottom of your snorkel is definitely the way to go. And those are the basic features of a snorkel nowadays. It kind of depends on how good your airway control is, how much you like water or don't dislike water in and around your mouth. For more competent divers, if you're quite confident in the water, you're used to water being around your nose and your mouth, then a J-style snorkel is very inexpensive. This one, for example, this one floats. It has a floating section down the spine, but it's also useful for in-water rescue breaths because you don't have those purge valves. If you're trying to do in-water rescue breaths with one of the others, then the purge valve opens and it kind of makes it pointless. But J-style snorkel, very tried, tested, reliable, and it definitely does the job. If you're using it for scuba diving as well as snorkeling, then I'd choose something with that corrugated bend so the mouthpiece moves away, and then depending on the top of the snorkel is very much on how much you like or dislike water in and around your mouth. Those dry top snorkels, they do work very well. I've used these in many occasions and they're very clever and very intuitive. One thing that I would say is when you get back up to the surface, don't try and sort of inhale or suck the air on the inside of the snorkel whilst you're under the water, because it creates a bit of a suction, so it holds that plug in position. When you get back up to the surface, exhale first just to help that float drop out of the way and you can continue to breathe normally. These three snorkels are available on our website simplyscuba.com. You've got the fourth element float, the splash and the dry snorkel. Lovely sort of colorways as well. They're quite fancy and good build qualities, but there's going to be links down in the description below so you can check them out and buy them from us at simplyscuba.com. Thank you for watching everybody, and of course, safe diving.